Well, Verizon Chevy forward.
All right, let's see what he can do today. This is going to be a busy afternoon. It's going to be a frantic afternoon. It's just the nature of this track. It's a catalyst for chaos. And we'll see if that trend continues here today. Scott McLaughlin got that bonus championship point yesterday, courtesy of winning the NTTP1 award. That put him ahead of the guy that he's sharing the front row with, Pato Award. They were locked, tied for 5th in the championship points coming into this Nashville weekend. Now McLaughlin's 5th outright, but everybody, unless you're in championship contention like Palou and Newgarden, you are racing for a win. That's what it's about here today in the Music City. It's a slightly better pack up this time. We see green here in Nashville. McLaughlin at the front, but look at Colton Herta. He's diving hard on the inside.
Pato Award with the point, but Colton Herta's going to force it in on Alex Palou. He knows he can take advantage of the championship leader.
I saw Linus Lundqvist getting beat up a little bit there, pushed around as the new guy, but everyone through turn 9. Look at them, 2 and 3 wide tire smoke in the back, side by side. Alex Palou and Romain Grosjean.
David Malukas is up to 4th. What a start from the Dale Coyne HMD racer.
And now Christian Lundgaard, the winner at Toronto in the black and red 45 back there. He's getting racy.
Newgarden and Kirkwood side by side into turn 1 here. Kirkwood's going to have to give that position up as they file through that tight chicane. 2
drivers who had incidents here last year making moves. Look at that black and red Hy-Vee Honda. That's Christian Lundgaard. He loves this race, was really frustrated with qualifying. He wants redemption today in this 80-lap event.
Everybody on exceptional behavior as Newgarden looks to make a move, and Lundgaard, big lockup, almost gets into the back of Newgarden.
Here on the inside, that is
Felix Rosenqvist on Castroneves. Such a tough corner to get it slowed down. You're turning, you're braking, it's bumpy, it's downhill, and now we see side by side. That's the pink and white Auto Nation 27 of Kyle Kirkwood going by the Verizon Chevy Will Power.
Look at Newgarden, he's been swamped in that blue PPG Chevy.
It looks like Christian Lundgaard just muscled Joseph Newgarden out of the way, and now a sea of orange. You got Scott Dixon, and I think that's Rosenqvist or Rossi coming in the Aero McLaren.
Here's Dixon, the orange and blue machine on the inside. He crashed out of qualifying yesterday, and Dixon has now made his 318th consecutive start to tie his good friend and former teammate Tony Kanaan for the longest run in IndyCar history. Incredible.
Joseph Newgarden has his hands full. One of the reasons he's on the harder black tire. He opted to start on the primary. It'll last longer, but it doesn't have the grip at the beginning of this stint. Scott Dixon knows that. Alex Rossi knows that right behind Newgarden. They're going to try to pounce here.
So a lot of drivers opting to start on that alternate tire because you have to run both compounds during the races. We already see one driver, Rinus VeeKay, he's in the pits to get off those alternates onto the black sidewalk primaries because, again, you have to run both. But practice was so limited with the weather, with the delays. As we see a pass move now here, Rosenqvist on Rahal. But these guys have so little tire data. So little tire data. They've got to just figure it out in the race. They want to get these alternates on and hopefully get them off as quickly as possible.
Kevin Lee, tell us more about the 5th Third Bank Honda of Graham Rahal.
Well, let's let Graham Rahal tell you the story. He's getting ready to pit. Let's listen to radio.
I'm at the pit. Straight front is gone. Pressures look okay. What's going on? It won't stop locking. Literally won't stop.
So what we don't know whether this is because of contact or if it's just a horribly handling car. We'll watch when he comes in.
Watch here. Does it lock? Does it lock here? It doesn't. I don't know if I'd pit right now, James.
That puts you in a pretty bad spot.
Don't take any wing out.
Graham asking for no wing out. He'll pull in right here. That's his out of turn 10. There we go. Into pit lane. That's the start of a long afternoon traditionally.
Listen, if you had to take a gamble, you can do it here. It won't turn, says Graham Rahal in a frustrated voice. Meanwhile, Scott McLaughlin's opened up a 1.5 second advantage over Pato Award, Colton Herta. Malukas hanging tough in 4th ahead of the championship leader. But the Dex Imaging Chevy, right there, the red and white machine, Scotty Mack, he was denied the victory in the closest ever street course finish by his countryman Scott Dixon a year ago. He is in control, he is in command to get this big machine Music City Grand Prix underway. That's the American Legion Honda, the blue and white machine of Alex Palou. Championship leader made a very straightforward move on David Malukas. That's for 4th. And that was very straightforward. Great start by Malukas, we have to say. Terrific qualifying to make the Firestone Fast 6. He's traditionally and typically done better on ovals than on road and street courses, but Malukas is shining today.
Yeah, he absolutely is. Great performance yesterday under tough conditions, and it's great to see him still kind of running up front. Kept a championship leader and a former champion behind him for 7 laps there. Now he's got Grosjean on his gearbox. You saw Pelot all over the push to pass to make that move happen. You see Grosjean on it right now, those green lights on the side of the wheel. Only 150 seconds of push to pass at Nashville this weekend. It is 200 at some other tracks, but only 150 here. And Grosjean using a bit of it there, Dave.
One of the reasons why Pelot was willing to go out and pass her, because he knew that Romain Grosjean was on the primary tire, the harder tire, which hasn't quite come in yet. So there was a little bit of a cushion there for Grosjean's part. Qualified 6th, and now wants to keep that primary going and get the best side of it, which will be the other side of the run.
I really like the way Alex Pelot has played the start of this thing. He was conservative. He's right on board with Grosjean, who now has a run also on David Malukas. What does the driver of the 18 do?
Just see how bumpy it is offline. He just faded a little bit out. Not a total defensive move, but it forced Grosjean to a part of the track that they haven't been driving on. It's so bumpy.
And let me just finish up on Alex Pelot. I love the way he played this. Conservative on the start to protect his car. Now head down, getting into a rhythm, and for good reason. Because on road and street circuits, this guy is an absolute Pac-Man, gobbling up points. These are laps points earned this season on the road and street circuits. There's 8 of them so far. This is the 9th, and Alex Pelot doing what he's done all season. This is why he has such a big championship lead.
And the juxtaposition right now between the leader, Pelot, and the challenger, Joseph Newgarden. Pelot's had a much better start to this race and has expanded his championship lead. Let's go on board the PPG Chevy. This is Joseph Newgarden. What happened to him earlier in this race? The view from Alexander Rossi's Arrow McLaren Chevy. Look up ahead.
Inside of turn 8, Lundgaard just kind of sneaks in on Newgarden. See, Newgarden's on that harder black tire, another driver that took that strategy. And as Dave Burns reported, it just takes a while for the tire to come into its own. We'll get to a crossover point. We talk about it all the time, where the green tire falls off, the black tire then has the advantage. I think, guys, that's probably only a couple laps away.
Here we go, Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon mounting a challenge on Alexander Rossi here. Uncharacteristic yesterday, Hinch, by Scott Dixon. He clipped the inside wall and it ricocheted off and he crashed out of qualifying. Frustrated, but he got a little bit caught out by how gripped up the track was.
Yeah, I think after all the rain they had yesterday, drivers were anticipating a little bit more loss of grip, as we see Alexander Rossi now, first car from inside the top 12 to dive into pit lane.
Only lap 10, so he must be feeling that degradation on the alternate tire. Surprised it was that early.
Let's watch the Arrow McLaren crew go to work. Dave Burns is there.
Lap 10 for the 10th place starter. Not a bad weekend pace-wise for Rossi, but wants to get off those alternates. He'll go primary now.
Alexander was sensational here last year. At one point he was a lap down, came back onto the lead lap and had a top 5 finish. So that's how gritty he is. He can be. Last year, this race was kind of in a similar way, and then once the yellow started happening, it kind of compounded. Meanwhile, Pelot is on a charge. He's bridged the gap to Colton Herta for 3rd.
And here comes Pelot. Also, Pelot's teammate Marcus Ericsson, if you saw, went past Alexander Rossi by pitting early and getting off the alternates on lap 7.
As Grosjean goes by Malukas now. Easy pass. He on the primaries being Grosjean by Malukas on the alternates. Going back to your point, also Rinus VeeKay had got ahead of both of those drivers, both Marcus Ericsson and...
So, Diff, we are at the crossover right now. When Rossi ducked into the pits and Grosjean going by Malukas, now Kirkwood should have an advantage. Another driver on the primary tile, Kyle Kirkwood. Let's just ride and listen up. Another car just popped into the pits.
What you got to remember, though, that was the 45 of Christian Lundgaard. As he comes in now, we see one of the McLarens coming in as well. That's Felix Rosenquist. Dylan.
They thought they might be able to go more like 20 laps, but Christian just came on the radio and said, these are awful. They said the rear tire temps do look high, so the alternate's already starting to go away.
Now, this is on the early side. All of these drivers, they're going to have to save a ton of fuel if they don't get any... big save from Kirkwood there. Auto Nation on board giving us a great shot there.
Hey, guys, haven't we seen this picture before? Kyle Kirkwood in pursuit of David Malukas on the streets of Nashville. This is what went down a year ago.
Oh, it was Kyle Kirkwood. Rookie season gets a little impatient here, trying to force it up the inside of Malukas. And that's what happens. 2 drivers into one group. Look at Kirkwood now. Lower right-hand corner. He's got to run.
He's on that push-up pass. It seems like Malukas hasn't been using the overtake. I'm not sure if there's an issue there.
He's burned 20.
To McLaughlin there, as we see Devlin DeFrancesco struggling a little bit now.
Palou should have an opportunity to make a move on the 29, that blue and yellow woo car.
Ric Flair is here. He's been having a wonderful weekend in Nashville, Tennessee. Here goes Palou setting up. DeFrancesco inside. The Andretti Steinbrenner driver does it easily. There's Linus Lundqvist.
And you can tell when Palou popped out, he's thinking championship. He's like, does he know I'm there? Is he going to let me by? And good on Devlin DeFrancesco to keep it clean.
And Devlin's just hanging on. He has not pit yet, so he did start on those primaries, but he's taken them this far, 26 laps so far. Now Lundqvist looking to set up this pass. You see some damage maybe on the left front wing there of
All the while, the red and white car, Scott McLaughlin, is looking at this two-wide mess, 2 rows deep, and he's going, oh, man, how am I going to get by these 4?
Ryan Hunter-Reay trying to get the pay by the pay.com. Augustine Canapino, the rookie, another rookie ahead of him, and Linus Lundqvist filling in for Simon Pagenaud. Meanwhile, Grosjean up front leading. First time he's led a race since Barber. You ride on board the Verizon Chevy of Will Power, who is running inside the top 5. Power has just pitted as you're on lap 29 of the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix here in Nashville, and Kyle Kirkwood in the Auto Nation. Andretti Autosport Honda is in, and Dylan Welch is there.
He stayed out a lap later than Romain Grosjean just to try and get some clean air. So they're happy with the race car. They'll probably need some yellow, though, a little bit later on here as they switch to alternates.
And you saw he had to hold a little bit for this string of cars coming in. Newgarden in the blue and white. You see Dixon in the blue and orange there. They had to hold Kyle Kirkwood, so a couple seconds lost on pit lane for the Andretti Autosport driver. That's going to make him suffer a bit on this out lap.
All right, so there's VK, and he is stuck in the middle of Scott Dixon and Joseph Newgarden as they rejoin the racing surface, and Dixon and Power are quite close on track there. Watch this.
Oh, yeah, you've got Will Power on hot tires trying to make moves.
And guys, this has kind of worked out for Rinus VeeKay. He's now in front of Scott Dixon, having done a second stop now, so he's basically on par. He's moved up a ton.
He had a great race here last year until an unforced error right here at this corner where he ran into the back of Graham Rahal. So, VeeKay loves this track. It suits his style.
For sure. Will Power hot before the start of this race, trying to scramble and find his driving gear. Now he's got to be a little frustrated as he needs to find some clean air to get the pace. Meanwhile, Scott Dixon with a really nice run on Rinus VeeKay further up the road. Watch the two go side by side.
Oh, whoa, almost a touch there at over 170 miles an hour. Dixon, as we said earlier, in his 318th consecutive start. This run goes back almost 20 years when he was just 24 years old. It is extraordinary.
Just unbelievable what he's doing, able to take advantage of those new green sidewalled alternate tires to get around Rinus VeeKay there. But yeah, I mean, he is an incredible driver, an incredible athlete, one of the fittest guys in the field. It's no surprise that even at 42 years of age, 6 championships, he's still up there running consistently, 3rd in the championship. Just remarkable. Now he's lining up Stingray Robb here, who has not pitted since lap 11.
There's VeeKay in the Bitnall car that you see just ahead of Will Power in the all-red machine. Behind Will Power, pickup Pato Award, Christian Lundgaard, who stopped again in the Hy-Vee Honda. There he is in the all-black machine, ahead of the yellow and black Gamebridge Honda, or the all-green machine is Marcus Armstrong. And then tucked in behind Armstrong is Felix Rosenquist. Armstrong's working a move on Herta here. Here we go.
To the outside, the preferred line for the brake zone for grip, but Colton Herta has position and he takes advantage of it. So more grip on the outside where Armstrong was, but Colton Herta, if he can get his car in the way of Armstrong in the apex wall like he did, that's how you make the move.
Herta's been out there a long while. He pitted on lap 17. Remember the contact with multiple cars, most notably Scott Dixon, and he said, you know, I've been hitting everything, I have to come in. And Award tucks through on the inside of Stingray Robb to try and stay with Will Power.
Meanwhile, upper left-hand corner, you see Alex Palou now up to third, pitted on lap 14. Ericsson and Rossi, if it stays green, almost certainly would have to pit 2 more times to make it on the end. Palou probably can make it on just 1 if he's saving enough fuel right now. Look at this! Kirkwood, sideways! Castroneves.
That was a save.
Huge save.
Oh, my goodness. How about the dancing man? That took some fancy footwork to save that, and his hands as well.
Boy, he's had a lot that got away from him this season, but he managed to hang on right there. That was a veteran set of moves with your hands and feet.
It's so tough down into turn 4 there because it is downhill, it is bumpy, as we see now. Marcus Armstrong trying to line up Kirkwood.
Same situation as last time. Colton Herta now backs off.
Clear.
2 of the young stars of the NTT IndyCar Series there, and that was relatively straightforward for Marcus Armstrong. He's coming off his best career result of 7th, also on a street course. That was in Toronto, Canada.
Stingray Rob peeling off into the pits there. That lets Marcus Armstrong get some free air. He can now try to close that gap down to the cars in front. Christian Lundgaard's the next in line for him.
That pink car that just flashed through shot there, that is the AutoNation Honda of Kyle Kirkwood, who won his maiden IndyCar career race on the streets of Long Beach earlier this year. He is in great shape. Pitted lap 29, sits 4th behind championship leader Alex Palou, and he is in very strong. But let's go for a ride with thanks to AutoNation. Have a listen. Here's the leader. Marcus Armstrong comes in slightly off sequence from the others like Palou and Kirkwood. Ericsson, I should say, and Rossi.
Yeah, this has really worked out well for Kirkwood. You're right. Dave Burns is down there in the number 8 pit.
So Ericsson's had a braking problem all weekend long. I talked to engineer Brad Goldberg. He said, we changed the entire system before qualifying. That fixed the problem. And so far today, it's been great.
Here we go. Serviced and sent. The way that this race is unfolding, the machinations of this is pretty interesting on pit stop rotation and the various strategy that's out there. Look at this scrap going on as the pitnile.com Chevy squeezes its way through. That's Rinus VeeKay.
Yeah, Rossi on cold tires just getting up to speed. He will not have wanted to have lost that position.
I'll tell you what, if Alex Palou and Linus Lundqvist can save a bit of fuel, they could make it on one more stop for Lundqvist. He's never practiced it before right now.
And he runs 3rd in his first IndyCar race. You're watching NBC's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Hy-Vee. This racing season, you can help Hy-Vee reach their goal of 100 million meals by visiting Hy-Vee.com. Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, 24 brands, thousands of hotels. And by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Only pay for what you need. Well, at this stage of the race a year ago, we had 4 full course cautions. So there's only been 2 today, but one of them was a waved off start. There's only really been 1 full course caution. So we get on board the Dex Imaging Chevy of Scott McLaughlin as he continues his pursuit. He led 24 laps early on. It was a different strategy call made. It's put him a little further back than where he would like to be. And there is one driver out of this race. Unfortunately, it's David Malukas. Let's hear from him now.
And it ended a really good weekend. First Firestone Fast 6 of the season. But what happened? It looked like there was nothing you could do.
Yeah, we're still looking into it. I don't know if it was the rear wing that failed or if it was something internally that caused a lot of heat, because we didn't just lose the rear wing going into turn 9. We actually, I lost the gearbox. I couldn't shift, couldn't do anything. And I mean, yeah, I just came in and there was a massive fire. Yeah, I mean, as you can see there, as soon as I hit the brake, just lost everything. I couldn't downshift. So yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate. I think we had a good strategy going and we had some pace, but yeah, it's nothing we can do there.
Thank you, David.
What a shame, because he ran well here last year until a late crash, and he was running awesome today in the top 5. Fabulous qualifying from the young man from Chicago. Here's the championship leader, the 10, the blue car, flashing through. Then Kyle Kirkwood, Romain Grosjean. this can be anybody's today. There's a variety of strategy. Who's got the magic? Meanwhile, right now, as they run with a long way to go, we're not even halfway there. This man has extended his championship points lead back out over 100 points.
Yeah, triple digits with 4 to go would pretty much be a death blow for the championship, but it's just so impressive how week after week this team is able to put their driver in a position to win a race.
What about the Carries Country Honda for Linus Lundqvist, the 24-year-old Swedish driver? Until Friday, he'd only tested an IndyCar 3 different times. Never been part of an official IndyCar weekend. He's filling in for the legend Simon Pagenaud, champion and Indy 500 winner. And yesterday after qualifying, he said it feels good to do this for Simon. He knows where he's at. He knows his fortunate position, but he's making the most of it.
But one thing that he doesn't have that my eagle-eyed friends back in Pacific South Palisades just pointed out, there's no air scoop on his car hinge. This guy does not have the scoop here. You look on board the Ilkos Hollinger car there. That is Callum Ilott. Every car should and is supposed to have the air intake scoop. The reason for that, Dave, of course, is driver comfort. How do you put the rookie out there with no fresh airflow when it's almost 90 degrees with 70% humidity?
Wow, Townsend asking him to do a lot. Pit stops for the first time. The first one went well. Fuel saving. He's having to do it now. They told him, please stay off the button. I did ask Mike Shank, if he saved you fuel, could you make it on one more? He shook his head. He said, no, we would need caution. So keeping it on track, keeping it off the barriers. Don't know about the scoop. We'll ask about that. Hurt is on pit road.
And the Gamebridge Honda is released for the second time in this race.
The rest of the day, see what happens. Okay.
Just going back to that scoop on the 60.
It's mandatory.
It's not
right?
a choice. Yeah, that's a mandatory.
Is there a chance it fell off?
There is a chance, but again, with how bumpy this track is, potentially that could have happened.
We understand that we've gone back and looked earlier on, and it supposedly has fallen off. So can't really penalize somebody if it fell off, but talk about physical penalty.
I was just going to say.
That is brutal. Absolutely brutal. I talked to Linus Lundqvist about this exact issue this morning. He said, when I first tested an IndyCar with Andretti, I was completely gassed. I told myself that will never happen again. I will make sure I'm as physically fit as anybody in the field.
Well, he looks like the captain of the Swedish wrestling team. So he's tough enough, but he doesn't have the laps in an IndyCar in these conditions. This is the biggest test of this young man's racing life.
We call it race fit, Lee. I mean, you can train in a gym all you want, but there's nothing like laps and reps on the racetrack. The longest race that he's ever done, as you see the replay of it falling off here over some of the pumps on the bridge.
Now you see it, now you don't.
Yeah, so again, he would have instantly felt the difference in the airflow.
Still there.
It comes off eventually, but you got to think, running Indy Lights, the races are about 45 minutes long. Here it's going to be double that in a more physical car, and now without the airflow of the scoop, this is a huge physical test for a young driver.
Absolutely. What a job he's done, though. You see McLaughlin up to third, and McLaughlin is pressing really well now. He's got fuel to burn, I think, on this strategy, so it's 10/10 for Scotty Mack. Meanwhile, Palou probably has to nurse his car a bit at this phase in the race.
And the other thing about Linus, he pit on the same lap as Alex Palou. He's only 4 seconds behind on the same strategy.
Very impressive.
Second car on that strategy, and that's a championship dominating leader with one of the best cars in the grid.
I asked him this morning also, I said, how do you save fuel if you've never done it before? He said, well, we're about to find out, because warm-up got canceled yesterday with the weather. Qualifying went in the place of the usual 30-minute warm-up, which is exactly where a rookie would get a chance to practice fuel save.
There's been a lot of weather impacting the schedule this weekend. Hey, let's take a look at our pit stop window predictor, powered by NTT.
So here you go. There's going to be a variety of options here given the way the strategies have played out. You see that window for Palou. He's going to want to take it all the way to the end of that window, because you could. It's tough, but you could technically do it on just one more stop with some big save. Kirkwood, a much bigger window, just like his teammate behind Grosjean. So this man right here may be the best place on track, Alex Palou, but he might be in the worst place on fuel.
T-Bell for all of the engineers and strategists. They calculated, they basically banked on yellow, because from the previous 2 years combined, there were 17 cautions in this. Only only one legitimate caution, and that is highly unusual so far.
I'd like to see Alex Palou, if I'm Barry Wanzer on his stand, get to lap 48 for that last stop. We'll find out when we come back to the Music City Grand Prix.
Hey, grab your mobile device and scan the QR code that you see on the right there, because you have a chance to drive away with a new Corvette, courtesy of Hy-Vee and Gatorade. All season long, we've been telling you about this to have a chance to win one of 4 Corvettes, and already 3 of them have been given away. So scan that QR code and good luck. As we welcome you back to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix here in Nashville. It is hot, hard work. We're into the second half of this race, and an interesting story unfolding. Here they come, the challengers on the championship leader, Alex Palou. Kyle Kirkwood, he stopped on lap 29, so there's a big disparity between those two strategies at play here.
Look at how stingy Palou's been on the push-to-pass button. That's the discipline, that's the precision of the professor of precision. Look at how he's getting that done. That's amazing.
But look who's at the tail of this train, guys. That red and white car of your pole. He's got fuel to burn, Kev, and he is caught up to this lead pack.
And he is trying to move his way forward. Let's listen into what the conversation is on the Thirsty 3 Penske radio.
Done really, really good here. You following me on this, though? Yeah, no, what you're doing is perfect here. You get a run of one of those guys with Kirkwood's tires start to go off. That's great. Go ahead and take it. We're right on pace for what we want right now.
And Scott has also been reminded that Grosjean still has to run the alternates, and he might be able to cross over towards the end of the stint on Kirkwood. We don't think Palou can make it, so McLaughlin can still win.
Hey, remember at the beginning of the season, we said McLaughlin and Grosjean a lot on the streets of St. Petersburg, and it ended with an unbelievable coming together and both of them going into the tire barrier. Yeah. So they're used to being on track on a street course.
So what Palou needs is to make about 1 or 2 more laps here, and McLaughlin to be held up, because then Palou can probably make McLaughlin.
Look at this, side by side with Romain Grosjean at 170 plus miles an hour into the braking zone. Grosjean hangs tough.
No, monsieur, not right now. Grosjean holding him off. Kirkwood still ahead, but his tires are coming apart.
Fermé Laporte there from Romain Grosjean on Scott McLaughlin.
That's where my French starts and stops.
Hey, Dave Burns, the difference with Grosjean this weekend might be that enormous mustache that he's boasting.
Well, and he said, I get to shave it off if I win. I have to leave it on if I don't. He has a bet going with his systems engineer, Will. But he will need to get to lap 57. That's what they want him to do. Remember, he's gone primary to Kevin's point, and then he puts on those alternates toward the end. 23 laps, Dylan. He'll try to make them last and win.
And Kyle Kirkwood running his first stint on the alternate tires. Brian Herta, his strategist, said, I need you to save fuel and your tires here so we have a little bit left at this stint, and then hopefully that'll make us have a shorter fill at the end of the race. Saving fuel and backing everybody up behind him. That's what Palou needs to try and hold on to the lead, or at least have a good blend when he comes back out of pit road.
For all of you watching in Jupiter, Florida, the guy in the pink car, he's your man, Kyle Kirkwood. The Long Beach Grand Prix winner has been in unbelievable form this weekend, and he could get another win on the streets here of the Music City.
And Kyle Kirkwood is likely saving fuel because he doesn't have the tire to use to burn all of that Honda horsepower, because right now Kirkwood has about 15 laps on the softer alternate tire, and he's well past now for Palou, except McLaughlin. There comes Palou, a little earlier, I think, than they wanted to. Dave, he's coming to you.
Townsend, they said he wouldn't tell him until turn 9, and that was the case when he got the call to pit. And you see them now putting on another set of primaries with the red rims, and just waiting.
All 18.5 gallons of fuel in. Devlin Di Francesco on turn 9.
Huge.
You hear that sort of high screech when you get in reverse, that almost falsetto out of the gearbox.
I said huge if it goes yellow. It did not. Could have been big for Palou right there.
Could have been a huge swing for Palou.
Unbelievable opening stint from Devlin DiFrancesco. Unfortunately, his day is going in the wrong direction.
But this is Nashville, James, and the yellow seemingly around just about every corner. And look at the marbles that have accumulated on the bridge. It is insane. This is like an Oreo factory out there.
But you got to remember, guys, this is more green flag laps than we've run in either of them races. So they're not even.
Some of them are saying, shouldn't we have a caution by now? Another one, please. We're just over at the halfway mark of the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix here in Nashville. Kyle Kirkwood leads the way in his Auto Nation Andretti Autosport Honda. Hy-Vee. This racing season, you can help Hy-Vee reach their goal of 100 million meals by visiting Hy-Vee.com. And by Fifth Third Bank, official partner of Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. This is banking a Fifth Third better. What a day, what a weekend here in Nashville. Always great to come back here. It's such a great atmosphere all around town, and then the race starts, and we are in the second half of the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. You're looking at Romain Grosjean looking in his rearview mirrors to see. Here comes Scotty Mack. He's had several lunges at Grosjean, but the Frenchman has hung tough. Whoa, he gets out of shape. Opens it up for McLaughlin. There's an inside opportunity for the Dex Imaging Chevy, and he gets him.
That's driver Scott McLaughlin.
You can hear the wheel spin for Romain Grosjean coming out of turn 10 there. Those tires are gone, he says it.
But they want to keep Grosjean out for as long as possible because he has to run alternates on his final stint. That'll be 29 laps.
This is the Nashville hero, an Indy 500 winner, Joseph Newgarden, who swept the weekend in Iowa. Meanwhile, Scott Dixon is in.
And this kind of tells us something about what Romain Grosjean is going to do, because Dixon's tires were gone about 19 laps and his alternate run. Will Power has also been complaining.
Bottom of your screen, he's hanging on pretty well with those alternates. Same strategy as Kyle Kirkwood, same tires. Pit at the last pit was at the same lap, so it's looking pretty handy.
And remember, he is in pursuit of Alex Palou. Points as they run, 66 the difference.
I've been watching that gap. Look down to 13th position.
Uh-oh. Big whoa!
Move.
If that's a full course caution for VK, we'll have to see.
Lundgaard in the pits.
I think McLaughlin's on pit lane too, so big exhale for those guys to get in before being caught out. Dave.
Quick reaction.
Well, O'Ward wanted more front wing. Kevin.
There's Joseph Newgarden coming in, got the quick call. They were trying to get
McLaughlin, that was nervous moments. McLaughlin pits.
But he'll have such a big tire.
Oh, look at Palou. Palou's down into turn one. Where's Scotty Mack?
He comes out behind Kirkwood. Kirkwood's still in front. So McLaughlin in between Palou and Kyle Kirkwood. Kirkwood has the advantage.
He's already done it once on the streets of Long Beach. Kirkwood looking really good. It's going to be Penske versus Andretti versus Ganassi down the stretch.
And Kirkwood had a brilliant race in Detroit. He made a mistake in qualifying, thought he had a car for pole, then got caught in a first lap incident, put him all the way to the back, drove his way through the field for a strong finish. So Kyle definitely feeling at home on the street.
And then you've got a rookie in Lundqvist that wants to mix it up with the big dogs. How about that?
He is not afraid of who he is surrounded by. Let's ride with him.
Box, box, box. Pit this lap. Pit, pit, pit.
That's okay. He's had his time in the sun and done a great job. Here's Romain Grosjean. Dave, he's headed your way.
They asked him what he wanted for front wing. We will see if they go to that for him. He will get the alternate tires for Grosjean. They will go on. They're going to ask him to do what? 26, 27 laps to the end. That's asking a lot.
Power is in. Castro Neves is in. Let's see where Grosjean blends back in relation to Palou, his teammate Kirkwood, and Scott McLaughlin.
Will Power's not out of the mix for a good result. He goes a little bit longer, so maybe a little less time getting fuel, and no fuel save for him. He's out.
Grosjean's a lot further back than where he would like to be. Look at the traffic he's come out in.
Alexander Rossi just out of the pits. You see Ericsson go by Award, Grosjean. Now it looks like Jack Harvey going along, who's also having a great run right now up in P9.
Jack had a terrific run here last year as well. His teammate is on the inside. Christian Lundgaard in the Hy-Vee Honda makes the move on Harvey.
Tell you what, that yellow and red car, Romain Grosjean, will be fun to watch for a couple laps just because he's got the alternates when they're fresh, and when they're fresh, they are max grip. He's going to have to balance aggression with protecting the tires to go 28 laps to the end.
And he's a little deficient on push to pass, just 45 seconds left in his bank. Alex Palou has a ton. Alex Palou has 118 seconds left. You look at Will Power make a move, but it's Florida's own Kyle Kirkwood who leads the way here in the Music City. You're riding on board the AutoNation Honda from Andretti Autosport. This is Kyle Kirkwood. The 24-year-old American leads the way by 2.5 seconds over Team Penske's Scott McLaughlin. That's how it is at the front with 25 laps to go. Here's Dave Burns.
Lee, we recently saw a disagreement over space on track between Rinus VeeKay and this driver, Alexander Rossi. It ended up with smoking tires and a near collision. There's Rossi on the left-hand side. On the right is VeeKay as they go in and out of frame. There was contact right here, and for that, boom, VeeKay got a drive-through penalty for the contact. As for Rossi, bent left rear toe link. They repaired that and sent him back on his way, but he's now 2 laps down.
What do you make of that, Hinch? In soccer, shoulder-to-shoulder contact is generally okay.
Yeah, I mean, Rinus also kind of paid a price by having to go off into the runoff, so I definitely put more fault on Rinus there, but I'm not sure if it's penalty worthy.
I mean, you're going through a bend right there. It's impossible when a driver is exactly next to you for either driver to know exactly where the other is positioned. So there's a lot of trust going on there, but race control clearly seen it as VeeKay's fault.
If you've got a watchful eye, you'll note that the lead has come down from 2.5 to 1.7 seconds. McLaughlin is on the move, reeling in Kyle Kirkwood. It might only be by tenths of a second, but everything counts. His championship leader, Alex Palou, in the American Legion machine. Let's go for a ride with race leader as we have a look at the pit stop differential powered by NTT.
Okay. Yeah, copy that.
You just take a look here. Kyle Kirkwood against Romain Grosjean. Kirkwood 2 seconds less in the box and 1.5 seconds to the good on the pit out lap. What does that equate to? The difference between first and 7th, where Romain Grosjean finds himself right now.
Yeah, it could just be such a huge thing with these green flag cycles. The way we've seen them, we've seen, you know, drivers come out in a mix of cars. That can just cost you so much time on your out lap, but a huge advantage through that pit cycle to Kyle Kirkwood. Excuse me, Dylan, but it might not be as pretty as we think running up front.
Oh, no, so I want to get your thoughts on this. First of all, this has been a Brian Herta strategy masterpiece here. I mean, he has done all the right calls, and Kyle said that at the start of this race that's kind of what they needed to do. They needed to just put it all together. They've had the speed all weekend, and they've done it so far. But you heard that fuel number, fuel 87, so they are in fuel save mode. But my question is, was that maybe an intentional short fill just to guarantee that they got out ahead of some of the cars they were racing? But they've been confident that they can save and still hold on to the lead. So was that maybe on purpose to short fill?
I mean, it certainly could be. There's definite advantage to having that track position. We've seen that when a car's quick, it's tough to get by them, even if they are saving a bit of fuel. So I would definitely rather have the point and a couple extra % of fuel save required.
So there's a couple of things going on here. McLaughlin continues to eat into the lead of Kirkwood, and then Alex Palou has a, well, not quite, just 3.5 second advantage over the guy who's chasing him in the championship. Newgarden needs to at least finish ahead of Palou to minimize that championship lead again, Dave Burns. And how is Alex going to defend?
Well, remember how well he defended at Iowa, finished 8th and 3rd, so kept the points right where he wanted them. Here's his recent radio transmission for the team.
We're currently P3. I know this could get frustrating. Just hang in there. Have no other options except ride this out. Hopefully we'll get a yellow.
And they also talked to him earlier and said, we are going to pray for a yellow. That's really our only shot right here. So they need caution laps for the 10 car.
Look, it's such an absence of cautions. By the way, I need to remind you that American Legion has a history of solving the biggest problems facing veterans. Today, that is mental health, and specifically suicide. Let's change the narrative. Be the one is their slogan. Be the one to save one veteran. Make it okay for our bravest men and women to ask for help, and you can learn more at www.betheone.org. There were 9 cautions in the first year here. Last year, 8. There's really only been 1 today, and they're looking for another one to get some help. What a sight that is. The ever-developing Nashville, Tennessee. This city just continues to grow. Every year we come back, there's more new buildings, and there's just such a great vibe downtown. Awesome. The Music City has turned it on yet again for the NTT IndyCar Series. I want to remind you that the series drivers and their teams will again compete for more than $1 million in the People Ready Force for Good Challenge by being the first driver to win a series of races on all 3 different types of circuits. So, as you know, oval, street race like today, and the road course. Joseph Newgarden did it last year, won the $1 million very quickly. And here, as you see on your screen, the current season standings. Here's the man, the local hero who won last year, did it in very swift succession. He won 5 races last year, actually, but did not win the championship. That was a source of frustration. He got his biggest win earlier this year on Memorial Day weekend by finally winning the Indianapolis 500 at, I think, his 12th or 13th attempt. So finally, he could breathe a sigh of relief. Now, earlier this week, it was declared officially Joseph Newgarden Day on the 31st of July, in conjunction with all of his career achievements and what he's done for Nashville, the state of Tennessee. Everybody is so proud of him here, and with more on Joseph, let's head to the pits. Here's Kevin.
And they're still thinking about a podium. It is within reach. So you heard the Alex Palou plan. They really need a caution. They really wanted to stay green for Joseph Newgarden. He's saving fuel, but that's their best plan because they know if it stays green, Palou is unlikely to make it, Dave.
2 cars back is Marcus Ericsson to win the $1 million. He'll need to win next week at the road course and then at the oval at Gateway, since he's already wrapped up the first street course of the year. That was St. Pete, so he thought we would be good here this afternoon. The one concern for engineering, they thought that the tire that was primary fell off a little bit harder than they expected, so they're asking it to go 29 laps to the end. And Lee, this driver, who at first was rumored to, there's no way he's going back to Ganassi. Lately it's been, oh no, there's a window. He might even stay.
That would be good. That would be good. He's found his happy home at Ganassi as far as, you know, finding his slot in the NTT IndyCar Series, and didn't reach any loftier heights than last year when Marcus Ericsson won the Indianapolis 500. Almost backed it up this May by finishing second to Joseph Newgarden. His results have been incredible. He's got quite the story here in Nashville as we go on board the Auto Nation on board with Romain Grosjean. Let's have a look at some Firestone telemetry. 165, 172, 345. Got up to 177 miles an hour.
And I'll be listening to Throttle Down right here through this section in the next corner. Let's just listen for a few. How well is Romain Grosjean dealing with the softer tire? Looking pretty sticky. That's the benefit of putting those on later in the race, as all the rubber gets laid down. About 10 laps on the alternate tire for Grosjean so far. We'll have to check back in about another 10. It should be much more difficult at that point.
I'm intrigued to see how it shakes out for the final step of the podium. Palou versus Newgarden, the top two in the championship, as Grosjean gets really close to the back of Marcus Ericsson. Palou's got way more push to pass seconds left than Newgarden, but Newgarden's 5 laps better on fuel, so we'll see.
He's got push to pass, but he can't use it.
He
can't afford to burn the fuel. No, he really can't. So the gap's been sort of consistent between those two drivers at around 4 and a bit seconds. So Palou's doing an incredible job with the fuel save that he's been having to maintain. But if Joseph gets within fighting distance, it's going to be hard to keep him behind.
And speaking of fuel save, as we watch this battle, Kyle Kirkwood, we know, has to get some mileage. Let's listen to the coast phase. Here's turn 1, turn 2, short shoot here. No fuel saving really on offer until you get to the bridge. It's the backside of the bridge where we'll listen. How early does he come off the throttle? Let's just ride. Decent amount. Not crazy, but it's decent.
It's decent size for the lap that he pit on. And that's how drivers are saving fuel. They save it with their right foot at the end of those long straightaways rather than keeping it flat out, letting the engine just guzzle that fuel. You lift off, you coast through the last second or two of the straightaway before getting on the brakes. You do that at the end of all the long straights.
Looking there, James, at last pit lap, Will Power, the best of the top 10, meaning he can burn the most fuel. And in some of the long shots, that number 12 Horizon's getting a little bigger on the screen. As here's Pato O'Ward in front of Will Power, and Will Power looks to have a really good shot here as they come to the bridge.
Grosjean's on the same strategy there on lap 53, and he's got the alternates, so it'll be an advantage now. But like you say, that crossover period is going to come before the end of this race.
I got to think it'll be miserable the last 10 laps for Romain Grosjean to hang on.
16 laps to go here in the heat and humidity of Nashville, Tennessee. Kyle Kirkwood still boasts a 2+ second lead over Scotty Mack. Scott McLaughlin of Team Penske. Is that going to change over the closing laps? Can Joseph Newgarden do anything about this man here? Alex Palou, the championship leader. And how about the defending race winner, Scott Dixon? Let's talk more about him.
So you know he knows how to save fuel. I'm hearing on the Joseph Newgarden radio right ahead of him, we need a little bigger lift, and he pitted a lap later than Scott Dixon, but I'm not hearing a lot of panic on the number 9 PNC bank. You know he's better than anybody at being able to make it to the end. Also notable, 318 straight starts, tying the Ironman Tony Kanaan. So he's going to surpass that at Indianapolis next week on the road course doubleheader weekend with NASCAR.
And his former teammate here in IndyCar, 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champ Jimmy Johnson. We want to send our congratulations to Jimmy, to Chad Knaus, Donnie Allison and Janet Guthrie. They are headed to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Well done, JJ. In the home stretch, 13 to go in the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix here in Nashville, Tennessee. Who is going to get it done? Will it be Kyle Kirkwood for Andretti Autosport, who now has a 2.8 second lead over the pole sitter Scott McLaughlin? He is hanging tough in the heat.
And now the questions start to surface. You thought you were promised calamity circus here at Nashville.
Yeah, what happened?
It has not happened. So now the question is, what you got? What you got for tires? What you got for fuel? What you got for talent to make the moves with 12 to go?
Hey, what you cooking?
Hey.
Here's Palou, who now has an 84-point championship lead. Dave Burns, by the way. Newgarden's got to get ahead of him to keep this thing alive.
Listen to recent radio, and there's one more after that.
All right, Alex. Get 4.2 and do not use the clutch for fuel saving. Do not use the clutch for fuel saving.
Yeah, but I don't think I can get 4.2, man.
Alex, lift and coast. Lift and coast will get better mileage than clutching.
And then the team reevaluating just radioed to him, go as hard as you can, go as hard as you can. We will just try to minimize the damage when we stop. They're going to have to pit.
They're bailing out. I can't believe, is Alex Palou using the clutch at speed? That's a new thing. That's normally a caution maneuver.
Yeah, I mean, normally if you're pulling the clutch in, you're just trying to kill the RPM, save the fuel. But as he says, you do it by lift and coast. like we were explaining earlier.
Either way, it sounds like it's all bail out at this point. Just go for it. We'll have to splash unless they get super lucky with a yellow here shortly.
In the Music City, that's music to the ears of local lad Joseph Newgarden. As far as these championship hopes, with just 4 rounds remaining at the conclusion of today.
But Newgarden's got to find some pace. I'm a little surprised. He just did a 19.4 with clean air in front of him, and Newgarden's just not closing.
A little bit more everywhere. A little bit more in 4, a little bit more everywhere.
And that's why Tim Cindric telling him, you've got to save fuel too.
Guys, I'm just looking at the numbers. I think that if Palou has to pit in the next lap or so, I mean, he should be able to push a little bit further, but I mean, he's going to be coming out in the 15th, 16th range. That is going to be very tough. Huge championship implications with Newgarden running them in what would be a podium position.
This has got shades, and I know it's in the latter half of the race, but this has got shades of Long Beach, not only because it's a street race, but this guy here, who's not short on self-confidence, Kyle Kirkwood said, I don't want it to sound the wrong way, but Long Beach, that victory was one of the easiest races I've had. And now it's in that same vein, in a similar vein, because he's in control, he's managing that lead. Big box is what he did back in California earlier in the year, won the NTTP 1 award, and converted that pole to a relatively straightforward and comfortable victory. He loved it. Hence, you've won at Long Beach. You know how special it is. This was a magical moment for this guy who came up through the road to Indy. So much hype. His rookie year wasn't fantastic. This was the biggest moment of his racing life.
Yeah, I mean, after Indy, this is the race all the drivers want to win. Second longest running race, second most prestigious. So to get your first one there for Kyle Kirkwood was just phenomenal. And to his point, oh no, we have trouble. Linus Lundqvist down in turn 11, I believe.
Here is the yellow everybody was waiting for. Unfortunately, this is really the only error this kid has made this weekend.
And look at what the marbles on his left front, which tells me maybe he got pushed wide onto a really dirty racetrack.
I'm so sorry, guys.
I know. Heard the marbles there from Lundqvist as Mike Shanks says, 10 to go on a brilliant debut.
Look, I know that he's sorry, said it on the radio, but you can hold your head high, young man. That was a heck of a debut here in the IndyCar Series. That is not the last time we've seen Linus Lundqvist behind the wheel.
And let's not forget, he has not had the cockpit cooling,
of course,
for 40, 50 laps.
Of course.
Guys, this is a huge break for Alex Palou.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Having just been told to turn up the wick, he can now go into crazy fuel save mode. But let's take a look. Top of your screen, just, lost it early, got wide.
Oof. And this is devastating for Newgarden, because if Palou was going to pit under green, he might still have to. Oh, boy, that's shocking. What happened
barely got offline. It just shows you with this much green flag running. Again, we've run more green flag in any of the other races we've done here.
And I don't know that the IndyCar is going to have time to send the sweepers out, so all those marbles will still be there, as another car has also had contact. That's the 30 of Jack Harvey in the Custom Entertainment.
And he'd only just pitted too. He hadn't long ago come into the pits.
Yes, 10 laps ago.
His wheel just snapped out my house.
Wheel snapped out of his hand. We saw that in Toronto with Romain Grosjean. Took him out of the race there, just kicked back through the wheel. You've talked about how bumpy this place is. No power steering in an Indy car. The wheel just constantly trying to rip itself out of the driver's hands.
The physicality of this track on this day, temperature now 90, humidity still 64. I think it's really starting to take a toll.
There was a yellow with 8 to go last year.
This is going to get crazy.
And that caused so much chaos that the race was red flagged for a period of time last year. So hold on tight, folks. This is far from over.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something similar, guys. We just saw how dirty it is offline. We're going to a restart. This is what happened to Jack Harvey. This is in turn 8, coming onto the back straight there.
With the caution out, as you said.
Again,
another
Linus
angle.
Lundqvist. Listen to this. It's not going to sound pretty.
I mean, just the smallest misplacement of the car.
No, I'm so sorry.
That could have happened to anyone, man. That was such a small mistake.
And I know that voice that he just articulated, which is, this isn't happening. Nightmare.
Yeah.
It just went from great to horrible in one moment. And that's just really, really rough for the young driver. But like you said, James, he had a really strong day. He showed everybody what he's capable of, and can't imagine how miserable it was in the cockpit to have that concrete wall-banging ending after what must be just a brutally hot environment with no cockpit cooling coming over the top like everybody else.
And it's not getting any cooler either. We're up to 89 degrees ambient, 64% humidity, but that doesn't sound too bad. It is just the feels like factor, and the feels like number is...
Track temp diff 123, which is what basically just bakes like a hot plate your carbon fiber tub that you sit in.
And this is tricky for the drivers with the placement of the safety truck. They're having to drive offline through all those marbles. That's the last thing you want to do when you've got hot tires on the car.
All right, let's get an update on Alex Palou, championship leader with Dave.
Oh, Lee, the ever-changing game of strategy for the championship leader. Barry Wanzer, his strategist, came on the radio, told Alex, okay, now that is a game changer. He didn't say if it would change the game so that they do not have to pit, but he said we're doing a great job, he said to his driver. He said, don't warm up your tires, don't weave back and forth. Hinch, that would be tough because he's got all those marbles on there. Don't do anything that would burn extra fuel. Save, save, save.
Yeah, he's going to suffer a bit on this restart. There's no doubt about that, but it's not going to be as much as going through a pit stop.
But if the yellow goes really long and we go green with maybe 1 to go, Palou 88 seconds of push to pass.
So if you want anybody on your pit box from a strategic standpoint, it's Brian Herder. What's going on at the Kyle Kirkwood Andretti Autosport camp? Let's get an update.
Yeah, let's see if we can get him really quick. Just put the headset back on. So they are still trying to do some fuel saving calculations here. So know you're in fuel save. This may help that, but it's another restart. So were you happy or not to see this yellow?
We had control of the situation. Kyle was doing a great job, and we were making the fuel numbers, so we were going to make it. Now we won't have a fuel save. Now it's just a shootout to the finish, so it's good for the fans. Hopefully we can hang on.
What kind of day has this been? It seems like the car's been great. Seems like you've made the right calls. Is a win the only kind of acceptable result here?
Ask me in 8 laps.
Fair enough. Brian Herder and Kyle Kirkwood ready to go.
Kirkwood, who started in 8th and has led the most laps in this race, 26 so far for the Florida native.
So a little bit of a change to the procedures here at Nashville from the last few years. They've been tweaking the restart zones. You know, obviously we've got the finish line here. The start was down here. What we're doing for the restarts now is the alternate start finish line is down in between 9 and 10. So they'll come off the back straight through turn 9. They'll accelerate around turn 10. But one of the biggest changes, normally you don't get push to pass active until the first lap after the restart is complete. Now with the new system, the restarts are happening between 9 and 10. Push to pass is going to be active across the across the finish line rather. So out of turn 3 on that first lap across the bridge, you are going to see cars with push to pass available, which is going to make it very interesting down into turn 4.
And that alt start finish there between turns 9 and 10, as all of the drivers will be given feedback to their team right now in terms of what they're dealing with. And you want to talk about temperatures, Diff? There is nothing more miserable than doing 70 laps in the heat and getting a caution because that venting system does nothing at 60 miles an hour or less behind the pace car.
It may not be at the high speed and as spectacular as what it was the last 2 years, the restart zone. But do you remember what the replay we showed earlier? It was a mad, chaotic scramble in that restart zone at the only restart really that we have had. Of course, the start was waved off. We started on lap 2, but on that only restart during race conditions, it was pretty chaotic. So we're going to see. We're getting ready.
They come to turn 9. The pace car is off as the field stacks up.
Remember last year, Scott McLaughlin was denied a victory by his countryman Scott Dixon right at the end of the race with a late race restart. Here we go again. It's take 2. It's a do-over. Newgarden is all over his rival in the championship, Alex Palou. What kind of a restart is Kyle Kirkwood going to get? Let's go back to racing here in Nashville.
Look at the marbles firing off the Firestone tires. They go single file, but it's going to get lock up crazy.
As soon as the green is called, you can pass. You see up at the top of your screen in 10, a bit of cars getting side by side here into 11. That's Marcus Armstrong defending in the green car.
Great work, Kyle Kirkwood. Grosjean's pressing.
There's
Ericsson.
4 cars have crashed at the very back. Ryan Hunter-Reay, at least one Arrow McLaren.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Benjamin Peterson.
Felix Rosenquist.
Canapino.
Canapino.
1, 2, 3.
They are
4.
stacked like a car transporter.
I mean, that's a lot of cars to not just move, but move off each other with only 6 laps to go. This might be something like a 1 or 2 lap shootout.
Or a red flag.
Or a red flag. We've done it here 2 years in a row.
4 to go last year, the red came out. It's 6 to go now.
Yeah, we saw that Ryan Hunter-Reay in the number 20 Bit Nile car was also involved in that. He was able to continue, potentially damage on the number 20.
And these, so 4-car incident, and these 3 jammed together. The AMR safety team have a little challenge to untangle here with a couple of rookies and Felix Rosenqvist. Check this out. Herta goes around.
There's Hunter-Reay.
Nothing wrong there.
Oh, Felix went in deep. Canapino went in deep. Peterson went in deep.
Listen to this.
He just gets on the marbles. So his right tires are dirty. Let's listen here.
Yeah, there's just nothing he could do. The right sides were dirty.
Look at the left front.
And then he was turning in from the top.
Did you notice Herta hit the wall? Ahead of him. Herta hit the wall as well.
He's been doing that since the first lap. I mean, he got pushed wide there on the opening lap, so that's why he comes to pit lane, as everybody will, for the red flag.
Red flag is out, guys. We are setting up for another Nashville showdown.
This is almost identical to a year ago, and McLaughlin finds himself in a similar position. He wasn't in second at the restart. He ultimately finished second, but here we go. He asked for an extra lap last year. He's going to get a few extra this year.
Well, I mean, to your point earlier, Townsend, you think it was bad circulating at 60 miles an hour with the airflow. Now these drivers are sat. Look, he's waving. Get me something. I need air. Look at Scott McLaughlin. Yeah. He needs something on him. Inside that car, you're baking. It's like being in an oven.
It's the worst situation. Now you stop with 125 degrees under your rear, and it just fries you.
He needs water. He needs a fan. All these drivers do. Get an umbrella over top of the car. Get some shade in there. It is absolutely scorching, and Hunter-Reay stopped in the shade.
What a veteran move.
Well, he does live in Florida, so he knows what heat and humidity's about.
Clever.
That is an interesting move.
That's a veteran pro move.
Look at the tires, too. On all these cars, they're going to have to restart on these tires. They are a mess. They have just globs of spent old rubber glued to their Firestones. And that's why Rosenqvist effectively couldn't even turn once he got all that pickup on there.
As you get hot in the car, you get hot under the collar. I mean, the frustration on Scott McLaughlin's face there, even once he got the fan, sort of throwing it around the cockpit. It is so uncomfortable. It's really tough to explain to people how bad it is for these drivers right now.
So teams are now allowed to approach the cars. There'll be umbrellas, there'll be fans, there'll be some extra water coming out. Get ready. This is going to be a fantastic finish. Action. It's the British Grand Prix that's coming up next here on NBC and on Peacock. It's been another great season. MotoGP, if you have not yet watched it, you should stick around and watch it. Right, Music City Grand Prix with just a few laps to go because of a late race restart and then subsequent crash. The AMR safety team is busy picking up damaged cars and returning it, cleaning up the scene. We're going to have just a few laps. It's going to be quite the showdown to finish this one off.
Someone get Cal Kirkwood an umbrella.
Yeah, he's out there in the sun.
Every other car's got one. Ryan Hunter-Reay parked in the shade like a genius.
Meanwhile, right behind him, the guy who's doing the chasing is Scott McLaughlin. He's got a nice umbrella and also a fan. And let's go to the McLaughlin camp. Let's go to the Thirsty Threes and Kyle Moyer.
That's who we've heard talking with Scott during this race, from starting on pole, still in position. So what does the yellow, and now a second yellow and a red, do for your driver? Does he have something for Kirkwood?
Yeah, I love it because it gives us a shot, you know. Kyle's been pretty good, but then at the same time, I think we've still got the best car. That's why it was on pole and stuff. You know, the Dex Imaging car has always been good, and the Chevy Power now is excellent, you know, on these restarts. So we'll see. You know, Scotty knows how to handle this. He's done it before, and, you know, we'll see. Hopefully everything works out.
Do we think it has to happen on the restart, or are there more opportunities in the final 3 or 4 laps that come?
No, that's this place causes yellows, and the reason is there's good places to pass. You know, you can pass in turn 4, you can pass in turn 9, you can pass in turn 11. You know, so it gives you a lot of opportunities to pass here. So we'll just see. You know, I feel we got the right guy behind the wheel, though.
Thank you, Kyle. Dave.
Standing by with Barry Wanzer, who calls the strategy for Alex Palou. And, of course, as soon as they abandoned the fuel save and went to go, 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 well, now you got your caution. So can you get there?
At this point, we're still not out of trouble, but we're in less trouble. So we think we can make it. We had a little bit of fuel error on the first stop. You know, sometimes the meter isn't exactly accurate on the car. So, but we're pretty confident we'll get to the end. We'll see how this goes. We know, obviously, this is starting to become very Nashville-like here at the end. The first part of the race hasn't been that way. We were counting on yellows based on our strategy. We didn't get them until now. Obviously, like you said, we bailed on the, you know, waiting to try to get a yellow, and we're going to wick it up to close the gap to try to minimize the damage when we made a splash and go. But now we're back fighting, but we're going to have to save a little bit still to get it done.
So does that mean he can't fight for the win from third?
We're going to fight to stay in third right now, but you never know what's going to happen in front of us with them fighting, so you never know. We'll see.
That's right. Hey, he did say it was back to the old Nashville league.
Well, and again, Dave admitting that in their strategy, they built into their model multiple cautions, more than what we had so far today. And then here we are in the closing portion of this race, and there's been 2 in quick succession, including this stoppage.
Well, for Alex Palou, this restart also means this. Newgarden going to be elbows out. I mean, going for it in his hometown. You got McLaughlin in front. McLaughlin will be thinking about Palou as well. If Palou tries to make a move going forward, you got to think Palou's in full defense mode right now, just trying to protect and get out of Calamity Circus here in Nashville with as many points as possible.
Yeah,
he's not thinking race win at all. He's not thinking podium. He's just thinking survival.
By the way, 4 to go, Hinch, when this checkered flag falls today. At the moment, the points difference to Alex Palou's advantage is 84. Now, that can vary a little bit. Even if Newgarden gets ahead of him, he takes a few off. He's still in good shape. But you go back to the beginning of Iowa, he had 117 points. If he leaves here, and it might be in the 60s, might be in the 70s, that doesn't feel good when the walls are closing in and there's still 4 races. You get 50 points for a win, folks, plus bonus points. There is still time for the Nashville hero, the Indy 500 winner, Joseph Newgarden, to take it down to the last round.
And we're going next to Worldwide Technology Raceway, Gateway, where Joseph has been so...
After Indianapolis.
Oh, sorry, after Indianapolis. Right. Indianapolis.
You know the town that you live in?
Yeah, that one. That's next week. I'm already a week ahead. It's been a long stretch. Indianapolis next. That's been a track that's been very good to Palou. Obviously won there back in May. You go to Gateway, a track that's been very good to Joseph Newgarden. Portland's been good for Palou. Laguna has been totally repaved, so nobody really knows what they've got when they get to Laguna.
Right, so that's what's going on in the championship. Kyle Kirkwood doesn't care about that. He cares about race wins. Let's learn more about the Floridian.
Hi, I'm Kyle Kirkwood, and I am from Jupiter, Florida.
Kyle Kirkwood is your latest IndyCar race winner.
Let's go, Ron! Yeah!
My favorite holiday is Christmas. In Florida, that means usually warm weather, going to the ocean, definitely no snow, but it's a great holiday. Who doesn't like Christmas? I collect surfboards, and almost all of them I ride, so that's probably the only thing I collect. My favorite place that I've traveled to is probably Morocco, where I did a Formula E test with Andretti Autosport. It's got to be Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt's just a legend.
Maybe Brad could find a cameo role for Kyle in his upcoming Formula One movie. Who knows? Anything's possible, KK. We'll see. So we're going to get this thing fired up here shortly.
Kid knows how to get barrels out on the shortboard, but he's going to have to find the concrete barrel here and keep it off the walls. I can't get over how dirty these tires look. They were hot and gummy with rubber. Now they've probably cooled off and almost like hard candy. Look, there's even a zip tie stuck in this thing.
You went surfing with him once. He gave me some feedback on his performance.
It was humbling. I had a bum hammy that day.
There's a good sound. The engines are fired, and the crowd is pumped because they know what they're about to see based on the past 2 years of chaos to the checkered flag. Yes, even our production crew are nodding their heads and cameras. because it is coming and it is going to be wild. Dylan.
Remember what Kyle Kirkwood said earlier this weekend. He said, we have been phenomenally fast on street courses all year, but I want to redeem myself here. As a rookie last year, this was his best race driving for A.J. Foyt. He knew coming in here that the Andretti Autosport cars were going to be fast. But he said, apart from Long Beach, this has been a frustrating year. I want to get it back on track this weekend. He's got 5 more laps and at least maybe 1 more restart to survive to try to put it all together.
Yeah, people questioned him on that move last year with David Malukas, and he kind of held strong hinge and said, well, I thought there was room. I was going for it. He didn't sort of put his hand up and admit it was his mistake or defeat. He's a hard-nosed racer. He has been a winner all the way along up to IndyCar and including IndyCar. So now he wants to get his 2nd career win in just his 2nd season in the NTT IndyCar Series.
I understand that Romain Grosjean was just waved around the number 8 of Marcus Ericsson. 8 called for blocking on the last restart. Look at the red and yellow car. A little fade.
That's called a prolonged fade.
Yeah. Ericsson, let's take another look at it on board here with Grosjean.
28 definitely pulls out first. He makes the move first. So, yeah, I can see where they...
That looked in reaction to. But Ericsson knows the IndyCar rules, which is, hey, 5 laps to go. You generally all bets are off, but IndyCar officials calling that one.
He had the head of the dragon at the Indy 500 last year, and he controlled it to win the Indy 500.
Look at the crumble.
And so this is what is so good for Kyle Kirkwood. Kyle Kirkwood can put his car on the racing line. Anybody that wants to go around him, Scott McLaughlin, Alex Palou, Joseph Newgarden, they've all got to go offline at some point to make that happen, as long as Kyle doesn't make a mistake, and you've got to drive through that to do it. You've just got to be a little bit cautious. These tires are going to be dirty. They're going to be tricky. They're going to be cold. Just make it through these first couple corners.
We've never had this much green running in Nashville, and therefore we've never seen this much spent rubber. I don't think I've ever seen it that bad at any track we go to. Look at the size and the quantity of spent Firestone rubber all around this track offline, and these drivers will desperately be trying to clean their tires.
So Kirkwood going for the win. We're going to go green next time by. McLaughlin on the attack. It's very straightforward. Then you've got Alex Palou in fuel save mode with his championship challenger and local hero Joseph Newgarden going for that podium. Do you remember what happened to this guy a year ago? Scott McLaughlin up against his childhood hero Scott Dixon for the win. Late race red flag, late race restart, and McLaughlin, with his parents visiting here from New Zealand, thought he might have been able to win in front of mum and dad and almost got it done.
They asked him after the race, what did you need? He said 1 more lap. I argue that he needed 1 more turn, 1 more corner to pull the pass off on Scott Dixon and take the win, and he is not going to want to finish bridesmaid here in Nashville. Seems kind of fitting given what normally happens on Broadway. He does not want to be the bridesmaid anymore.
Well, 11 corners here at Nashville, 3 laps to go on the restart. That'll give Scott McLaughlin 33 corners to get it done as Colton Herta finds himself stranded on pit lane.
We thought it was going to be conversion day for Colton Herta, from a good starting spot to a good result that has not materialized. Hey, what would Ric Flair say about this restart?
To be the best.
No, to be the man.
To be the man, you got to beat the man.
And the man right now is Kyle Kirkwood. Woo! Who's going to beat the man? That's what we're about to find out. Can Scott McLaughlin do it? It's Honda versus Chevrolet, Andretti Autosport versus Team Penske. And we're ready to finish off the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix here in Nashville in a big and spectacular way. Kirkwood with a great restart, as he did the time before.
Look at Newgarden. Newgarden just got into the back of Alex Palou. It was a kiss, but it was enough to say, I'm here.
Try and unsettle him. Elio Castro Neves and Will Power right there. Callum Eilert, also Graham Rahal.
Now Power on the outside of Castro Neves. I'm not sure that's going to work with how slippery that corner is. He's going to have to give it up. Eilert all sideways coming off 11. We all managed to make it through. Now through turn 1.
Up front. Newgarden hasn't been able to do anything about Palou, and Palou was on McLaughlin. Kirkwood has gone. The race leader has bolted.
Push to pass available, but I doubt Alex Palou's allowed to use it, so Joseph Newgarden has to be on the attack
slippery.
Here.
Alex Palou almost lost the back end of his race car. That was so close to disaster.
This is Eilert, Callum Eilert, turn 1.
No, that's Canapino. That's the 78. Agustin Canapino stuck in the barriers in turn 1. Still green for the moment. Local yellow in turn 1.
And Newgarden might get a shot here as he comes out of turn 7 up onto the bridge. We know Palou has pushed to pass, but does he have fuel to use it?
Oh.
Here comes Newgarden.
Newgarden's tail end was all over the place there. The PPG Chevy in pursuit of the championship leader.
But look at the lead Kyle Kirkwood has, 2.5 seconds after one circuit. Incredible performance from the young Floridian. The battle is all for second place behind him.
It is. It's for that second and third spots. And in allegedly fuel-safe mode, Palou seems to be doing plenty of attacking. Dixon in the background, last year's winner, sits in the top 5.
2 laps to go. Palou hanging on. In fact, Palou looks to be up on the wheel, ready to use every second of the 81 remaining.
How's that fuel look, though? Can he get home in this fashion? We heard from Barry Wanzer before on his pit box.
Newgarden behind only has 17 seconds. That's probably 2 honest pushes left in the tank for push to pass, so he is going to have to get closer to try to pull that move off on Palou. But as you said, it's Palou on McLaughlin now.
Does McLaughlin decide I can't catch Kirkwood? Maybe I can help my teammate Newgarden, and tries to back up Palou a little bit. No, McLaughlin's been so fast, but all of a sudden Kirkwood with the advantage.
Hey, it's not over till it's over. Just one little mistake from Kyle Kirkwood, and that race can still go McLaughlin's way.
The new kid at Andretti Autosport has been the only Andretti Autosport winner in just his second year in the NTT IndyCar Series, and he is just 1 lap away from his second career victory.
2 corners to go till he gets the white flag. Then 2.1 miles around Nashville to bring home his second victory of the season. Kyle Kirkwood absolutely calm and cool as a cucumber under pressure here.
Look at this. McLaughlin's a bit closer. Here's the white flag. 1 to go, 2.1 miles. Can Kyle Kirkwood do it?
McLaughlin appears to be closing. He's responded to that pressure from Palou. He's got his head down. He does not want to finish second 2 years in a row. Now Newgarden seems to be finding some pace further back, closing a bit on Palou.
That distance between first and second was as much as 2.5 seconds after the restart. It's down to less than a second. Here comes Scotty Mack. This is not over yet. Palou hanging in there. Back-to-back podiums in as many races. The second race at Iowa, and here in Nashville. That's going to help sustain an 80-plus point championship lead.
Last time over the bridge, out of 8, Kyle Kirkwood up through the gears. Just really one, call it 3 corners to go, 3 left-handers. You got to nail the brake zone, hit your apex, and if you're Scott McLaughlin, you're thinking, no, not 2 years in a row.
Well, the first 2 races here in the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix have been won by Chip Ganassi Racing. It's going to be a different team winning this year. Andretti Autosport at the front, Andretti Autosport in control. McLaughlin saying this is history repeating. I can't believe it, because he's looking at the back of Kyle Kirkwood, who wins in Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville hot chicken dinner, buddy. Good job.
Kirkwood.
Come on, great strategy, great pit stop. Win number 2 of the year. Come on, boys. Finish strong.
Hey, Kyle, celebrate a little bit more. You just won.
He's too tired, man. He's too hot. He's too tired. He wants to get that helmet off. He wants a cold drink of water and to celebrate with this crew here. Huge congrats to Andretti Autosport and the crew on the 27. That was, as Dylan said earlier, that was a Brian Herta strategy masterclass, as well as an excellently, perfectly executed race from behind the wheel from this guy.
Fantastic stuff. All last year, Kirkwood had many DNFs, and there was question marks about whether or not he could find the composure that earned him the opportunity to be an IndyCar. But everybody told me, hey, when this kid finds the lead, look out. That's where he only knows how to race, through the lower levels. He found it today. He didn't look back.
He was a